My sisters and I started playing piano when we were young, maybe 5 or 6. Mrs. Yoshimura taught lessons in her house. We always wondered what the rest of her house looked like. Sometimes would try to sneak off and explore it while our sisters were in their lesson. For a period of time, we went and lived on a sailboat, and we didn't have a piano anymore, so we would dink around on the keyboard. When I came back to public schools after being homeschooled for 2 years, I was in the 6th grade and wanted to play violin. My parents got me a violin. Within, I think, probably like a month, the orchestra teacher, Mr. Ball, had convinced my parents that they wouldn't have to rent a violin if I switched over to the bass, because he had a bass that I could play. He said I was a really good candidate for a bass because I was tall and I had big hands, which I did. I always have had big hands. It's not what any 6th grade girl wants to hear, but it's true. So that was kind of what I played from then on out. I pretty quickly discovered that playing symphonic music is completely addicting, and it just gave me this feeling that nothing else in my life could give me. And still to this day, listening to music, watching music, none of it compares to playing music. I majored in music and was an orchestra teacher for a while. I was always really disenchanted with this idea, though, that musicians are superstars or should be placed on a pedestal. It used to always drive me nuts when people would say, "Oh man, I could never do that." That always drove me kind of crazy. I strongly believe that anyone and everyone should play music, and that you don't have to be the most amazing musician in order to play the music. Everyone should play the music. We should play music in our homes with our children. We should sing and dance. When my first son was born, he had something going on with his nervous system. Apparently it's fairly common, but he would have these reactions to sounds that looked like a seizure. If it was a loud sound, his body would start to shake like it was having a seizure, and it was pretty scary. It really turned me off from playing my bass. Also, when you have a baby, a lot of times the best time to do anything like practice an instrument is when they're sleeping. So I fell out of practice pretty quickly. My son started violin at 9. Playing music with my son is probably one of the things that both brings us closer. It's also one of the things that we fight about more than any other things. You know, just having disagreements about how to take feedback and having the right attitude. But I wouldn't trade any of that in. It has been wonderful to play music with my son. Most musical instruments involve quite a bit of muscle memory, so it can be really discouraging if you don't have a lot of time to play your instrument, to just sit down and play, and it sounds terrible. It doesn't sound at all like you remember yourself sounding. Thank goodness instruments like piano and guitar exist, because I feel like those are instruments where you can take longer breaks from them and sit down and play them. They have been my companion throughout the dry years. I look forward to the day we're able to dedicate enough time to really get into it again.